Salute, General, Iro, Musa, Etiquette. I'm affectionately referred to as General Etiquette, and I've been thinking. I've been thinking about a variety of subject matter, but today specifically, I've been thinking about the black community, right? And in my humble opinion, there's a fracture, right? The relationship between men and women are fractured, especially in the black community, right? As per what I see, right, we are the only race and demographic of people who publicly humiliate one another, who publicly degrade one another, right, who are constantly throwing stones on either side of the fence, right, pointing blame and never taking accountability for the way that we show up, for our traumas and the hang-ups that we may have that contribute, right, to the issues that we have once we try to come together in a union with another individual, right? So what sort of birthed a lot of these issues? Now, of course, if we're looking at the black community, right, if you've been educated here and you've been paying attention in any way, shape, or form, you understand the peculiar institution, i.e. slavery. You understand Jim Crow South. You understand Reconstruction. You understand a lot of our country's history that have led to us being where we are now and finding ourselves in the situations that we are now with the wealth gap, right? White flight. We look at the lack of GI bills that were given to war veterans who came back, that would have allowed black people to be sprinkled and spread out in suburbs, potentially across the United States, and the reverberations of generational wealth from the passing down of homes, right, and that acquisition of wealth. We can't even quantify, had that even been a fair practice, right, the benefits and how we could have thrived and continued to grow from that, right? But what I do know, right, so we all know there's a bunch of reasons that led us to where we are now. My question is at what point are we gonna wanna do something different? At what point do we wanna put the stones down, stop throwing stones across the fence, take accountability for ourselves, go to therapy, collectively and individually, right? I heard a dope saying one day where someone told me, we all have something. We all have experienced different things in life. We all may have traumas. We all have hang-ups. We need to go talk that through. We need an outside objective perspective to help us work through a lot of our individual hang-ups before we come to these relationships or before we come to somebody else and try to build a union and build a conglomerate of some sort. There's a lot of hurt people. There are a lot of incomplete people trying to mend and mash with others, right? And it's just leading to the continual count of divorce. It's leading to the growing rate of separation. It's leading to households being headed by single mothers. It's leading, right, this idea that we aren't all we can be before we come to a lot of these situations. Or we're entering into these unions and attempting to build families for selfish reasons and individual pursuits, right? The black community is fractured, and it starts with the family. So the black community is fractured, but then in my humble opinion, we have to break it down to the dynamic between black men and black women. Is there a respect that exists? And in my humble opinion, I believe that there's a respect that if it does exist, it happens on a case-by-case basis. It doesn't happen simply because we are all kin, because we are of the same people, right? We don't look at it that way, right? My mother used to tell me there's 40% truth to every rumor, right? So stereotypes are birthed from someplace, right? Sayings, crabs in the barrel, right? This idea that we constantly pull ourselves or pull each other down, right? We were schooled and educated in the West, right? And one of the things that capitalism breeds and promotes is individualism, right? So as black people, as black Americans, we've been conditioned and educated in the art of individualism when the truth is our plight and our grievances need a collective response. We need a collective response as a community. So yes, mass incarceration has removed a lot of fathers out of house and home. Poverty is one of the driving forces for violence and crime. We understand that we have been set up by this government to fail. Make no mistake about it. We have been set up by the powers that be to fail consistently. They have not only been heinous in their action, right, inhumane in their subjugation of black people in this country, right? And we all know white supremacy and that engine, right? The engine that is white supremacy that sort of took a life of its own. But my question is, what are we willing to do about it? At what point are we gonna recognize, like, there's a woman who's on TV, and I don't really know how to accurately describe what she does because she's sort of like a therapist, but she's on one of those shows on the OWN network, right, that really promotes growth and spirituality and different things of that nature. Her name is Spirit. And one of the things she told the couple was, it isn't you versus me, it's you and me versus the problem. So here's what I'd ask. Black men and black women, when will we get back to it being us versus the problem as opposed to us versus one another? Because it gets us nowhere. At this point, the complaining is empty, it's annoying, right? It's the tune the cow died on. At what point are we gonna take accountability for ourselves, our hang-ups, our troubles, our plight, our own grievances, in order to come together in a healthy fashion, in order to repair our community as a whole? It's step-by-step process, but it starts with stopping the complaining, taking accountability for yourself and the way that you show up, and then actively and proactively working to mend our communities. But it starts with you. It starts with the person you decide to engage, how you decide to show up, what it is that you pour into your children, what sort of lessons and themes do you teach them, how are you interacting with other black men and women, right? So if there's anybody else, and I know this video, and I want this video to reach a variety of races and or people, like I always say, I hope any and everybody can draw inspiration and can learn from my message. But on this platform, it is also imperative and paramount that I speak about the things that are truly close to my heart. And repairing the black community, whatever that looks like, is a conversation that I'm ready and always willing to have. And remember, I'm not here to make up your mind for you. I'm just here to facilitate and have the conversation. At what point are we gonna stop looking at it for you versus me, black men versus black women, and when will it be black men and black women versus the problem, the way that it needs to be? Because we have enough problems. It's getting old and it's getting tired. Complaining about one another is not getting us anywhere. We need to help ourselves so that when we engage the conglomerate and the collective, we are our best and most healthy selves. You see me in the street, say what's up, but you probably won't because of the Rona. So I prefer you salute General Iro Musa Etiquette.